Okay, so first off, you don't need your bat pins in. So take those out before you get started. I would start with about this much clay. I'm guessing this is 8 pounds of clay. You want to make sure your wheel head isn't dirty. You're going to plop this down, and you're going to slowly spin your wheel. And just kind of hit it on both sides. This just helps you get it a little bit more on center. Once you start throwing bigger pieces, it also helps. Okay, so this is your hump, and you're going to throw off the hump. That's what this is called. When you're throwing off the hump, you only have to have this top part centered. So I don't need to worry about centering this whole thing. So I bring this clay up, like coning up at 7 and 2. 7 and 2, applying pressure, coning up. Until I get that top part centered. Now here's where measuring comes in. In order for your cups to be the same size, you need to measure a couple different ways. Pay attention to how thick your clay is right here. So right now I'm looking at this and it's making a pretty good C, like a normal C. If I wanted more clay, maybe it would be like this, maybe smaller would be a smaller C. You understand that? Or, you know, however you can figure out how to measure your clay. So that's what I'm going to start with for now. And then after I start making some cups, I will adjust them accordingly. I will tell you, our clay shrinks. It shrinks about 11%. So you think that your cup is going to be a good size, and then you get it all the way through the firings and they're like this big. So make everything bigger than what you think, right? Okay. With that said, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, the next thing I want to pay attention to is how much clay I'm using here. Okay, so I'm going to use about 3 fingers and then make a little false bottom right here. Okay, so next time when I throw, if it's not big enough, I might go to 4 fingers. I might go wider, whatever I need to. If it's too big, I might scale back. So now I know all my pots are about 3 fingers tall and a large C. All right, so now I'm going to put my center hole in. I like to keep my pinky in the false bottom. See that? That just helps me. Now I'm going to pull the floor. You will be trimming all these, but the pulling the floor has to do with the shape you want. If you're going to have a cylinder, you want to pull your floor flat. If you're going to have more of like a teacup, tea bowl thing, it's going to be a little bit more round. It just all depends on what shape you want and how you're going to trim it. I'm going a little tiny bit rounded. Now, here's how to help prevent cracks. You want to compress this clay. So we practice that with your bases on the bottom, how you compressed the clay. Compressing the clay lines up those clay platelets and helps prevent S cracks. They're called S cracks because they look like S's. So I'm compacting that clay, just kind of like firmly going over the bottom. All right, now I'm going to throw. I'm going to throw for my false bottom. This is the first time I've used this wheel since it's come back. It's cool. So I'm going for volume. It's always my goal to like be able to fit a whole can of pop. Is that a coffee drinker? So think about that. Again, this will shrink quite a bit. All right, it's the shape I'm going for. I'm going to take the metal rib. When you're using a metal rib, you hold it like this. You you don't hold it at a 90-degree angle, you hold it kind of a 45-degree angle. I'm going to press on the inside. So I'm going to flip it down to this part. I want a nice sharp angle right there. Oh, chamois. Forgive me, chamois. Okay, so there's my cup. Now, when you are making cups, over there I think, you know what a chamois is, right?
Yeah.
When you're making cups, you want to think about the lip of the cup. Because you want the lip to be comfortable on the person who's drinking it. I always say a cup is the most intimate object that you'll make because it's actually touching somebody's lips, which is pretty intimate. I just brought some home that I think I made last year. I've been sitting over there for a long time.
I'm pretty sure I grabbed them.
Where do you go look?
Yeah, there are a bunch of corks in here that I would see. There's not one in there.
We might have to cut some more. Anyways, I brought some like tumblers home that I made last year that have been sitting over there, and the lips are pretty thick, and they're just not comfortable to drink out of. You don't want it too thick, you don't want it too thin. If it's too thin, it's scratchy, but too thick, like I kind of feel like I'm dribbling when I'm drinking. Thank you. It's interesting.
That's the only one.
Okay, we'll cut some more. This is a chamois. I think I've showed you guys this before, but they're really nice to get a nice rim on here. I like to fold mine in half. You don't have to. And you just kind of get the shape of the rim that you want. All right, then you have to dry your hands off. You guys can probably use small boards. Unless you're here for open studio, then I'd get a big board. Okay, so I need to pay attention to where my bottom is. I want to cut below my bottom because I'm going to trim these. If you're doing cylinders, like little tumbler cylinders, you're still going to trim the bottom. You'd probably just trim it flat. If you're doing kind of like tea bowls or teacups, you're going to want to leave a little bit extra so you can trim a foot, which is what I'm doing. So I'm just going to go down here, put my foot, or put my wooden knife in. We're going back to holding things like this. Sometimes you can hold it like this too, I guess. We'll see, maybe. Okay, so, grab one of those crazy ones. I'll show you guys. No, don't do that. Because you're going to trim it anyways. Never mind, that would have been fun. Okay, so I'm going to take my wire tool. I'm spinning my wheel. I'm pulling my wire tool back. I'm quickly popping this off and setting it there. Got it? Okay. I'm going to do another one without talking, trying to not talk. Again, I'm going to cone this clay up. Just bringing up a little bit more clay. Getting just that top part center. Looking at my measurements, looking at my shape. Now, if I were you guys, because we only have a week, right? If I were you, I would spend this week kind of just playing around with shapes. Kind of like sketching, but actually in the clay. So that when you come back from spring break, you'll know what shape you're going for. I like to keep my, if you're throwing in multiple days, I like to have like my favorite cup out in front of me so I can try to mimic that favorite cup. So I did my measurements. I'm paying attention to how I did that floor so I can do this floor similar. And I will repeat, I've thrown that shape hundreds of times. So intermediates, that's my goal for you guys, is to be able to do it and perfect a shape. This wheel either goes fast or slow. So I'm trying to do the bulk. Don't forget to compress the bottom, which I did. Questions? Bottom's not good. You talk loud. Oh.
It's nothing really.
Do the old presidents like offer?
Kind of. Grace just texts us all the time. Like, we're trying to order these swimsuits. And I was like, okay, well, before you order them, you should make sure that they are going to be here on time, because otherwise we're going to have to find something that comes quicker. And and then they write back, well, how will we figure that out if they're going to come on time? I was like, but check the website, call the company. Why is that? Why do I have
It's a
to
good
tell you
example
that?
when you're parenting that you should teach your kids how to do stuff like that. Okay, so I want to make sure that there's no water in the bottom. Again, I'm cutting a little bit below my floor so that I can trim my foot. Drying my hands off. Wire tool. I'm gonna put my wire tool in there. I'm gonna spin my wheel as I pull that back. That is harder than it looks. Take that off, so on and so forth. Questions? Okay, we stop that one.